If you don't know me, my name is Ryan Joy. I'm class of 2006, a very proud Clarkson alum. As you can tell, I got the hat, the lapel pin here that's green and gold, and I got the background. Um, I have been doing the Clarkson cruises over the last couple of years, and I'm really excited because this is our first river cruise that we've done that we're going to be talking about tonight, and I'm really pumped. If you guys don't know AmaWaterways, I think that they are just excellent. One of the things I always say when we're talking about, people ask me, well, how did we come up with this cruise line for the Clarkson cruise or whatever? And I always say that I'm picking these things out and my reputation's on the line. So I pick the lines that I know will take care of my reputation. And that's the thing with On the Waterways. They're such a great line. Very, very great. They're premium, I would say, compared to some of the other lines. So I love them. I think that as we go through the presentation today, you're going to just find out exactly why if you're not familiar with them. Um, you know, we just did Tahiti with a small cruise ship, and it was amazing. And I expect that we'd have the same type of thing here, where you're on a small ship. You're going to know the other Clarkson people and probably everybody else on the ship too by the time we're done with it. And you may be wondering why this is a November 2027 sailing. Why are we talking about it 18 months in advance? And I'll tell you, my motivation always is to find the best pricing for these things. It is it is competitive out there, and the price, and as we get closer, the pricing goes up, and I'm going to share pricing toward the end of this thing. It's really good. It's a really good opportunity to do a Rhine River cruise at a great price with a great line. So that's why we're talking about it 18 months in advance. So I have done the Danube with AmaWaterways. I'm going to do the Mekong in Vietnam and Cambodia next year. I'm doing the Douro, which is in Portugal in July. So I'm all in on AmaWaterways. So, um, but let me introduce Brian from AmaWaterways. He's going to come on and he's going to talk through our itinerary for the celebration of beer Rhine River Cruise that we have teed up for Clarkson alums. So, Brian, why don't you go ahead and you can talk to us about the beautiful imagery that is what we're going to see here over the next
Sure.
little bit.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate the opportunity to come out and visit with you all today. I'm Brian Rademacher, and I am the sales guy for Northern California. I'm out on the West Coast. I live about 30 miles north of San Francisco, and I've been in the cruise industry over 30 years, and actually two different river cruise lines and a couple different ocean cruise lines. And being here at AmaWaterways, I like to say I think I saved the best for last. So thank you, Ryan, for your very gracious comments, and again for bringing your fine Clarkson alum on AmaWaterways. And yeah, we're kind of in some ways the best kept secret in river cruising because we frankly don't do the level of advertising that one of our competitors does, frankly. And so we do rely on, quite candidly, on our partnership, our relationship with folks like Ryan, who then bring you the product that you heretofore may not have been too familiar with. But then what we see is once you all come and experience our product, we have an incredibly high repeat factor. So that's a good thing all in all. And yes, that imagery there is of the Danube, as Ryan mentioned. It happens to be a little town on the Wachau Valley in Austria called Dürnstein, right? Quite beautiful indeed. And so we say journeys that move you. And certainly a river cruise is all about, yeah, the cultural immersion, which we'll talk about. We don't really sell the ship per se as destination as some of the larger ocean cruise lines do, where they say, the ship unto itself is almost a destination, it really is a destination. Oh, by the way, you're going to see some interesting things along the way. We're the exact opposite. We're saying we're going to immerse you in the local culture and you're going to be on a beautiful vessel like you're going to be on. And by the way, the ship that you're going to be on hasn't even been built yet. So it's in the process
Yeah,
of
it's
being
brand new.
manufactured now. That's exciting. We'll talk about that as well. So then again, thank you, and thank you to all of you, and any of you that might be watching this on recording. Ryan and I were talking that often happens where a number of people will come after the fact and see the recording. So we thank you also for taking the time out, those of you that are doing that now, to watch the recording. So pretty much, yeah, we're all over Europe, as you can see. What took river cruising to the next level is this Rhine-Main-Danube canal. That's an over 100-mile long canal that even back to the time of Charlemagne, he was trying to get something built to connect the Rhine to the Main to the Danube. Ultimately, when that opened up in 1992, that meant you could get on a ship up here in Amsterdam and not get off that vessel until you'd reach the Black Sea nearly 2,200 miles later, or the reverse, right? So that's really what got river cruising going. And our founders, Rudy Schreiner and Christine Karst and Gary Murphy, Jimmy Murphy, et cetera, really were family founded, and we've been around for 24 years since 2002. July 1st will be actually our 24th anniversary. We also go to some exotic places as well. As you can see, Ryan mentioned the Mekong, and we're there. We're also in South America on the Magdalena River, Southern Africa between Namibia and Botswana on the Chobe River, and then we're on the Nile in Egypt as well. But certainly predominantly within Europe, that's mostly what we do, and it's a fabulous way, as I mentioned, to traverse really through the veins of a country to the heart of a country, and really again get that wonderful cultural immersion. So this is, as Ryan mentioned, next November, not this year, but next November 13 through 20 of 2027. And just to echo, sometimes it's like, what? This is really early, but Brian said the same thing. It's a good idea, certainly, to get something set up well in advance, get it locked in pricing. River cruising, if you haven't been aware, is one of the hottest things, if not the hottest thing in travel. It's growing in leaps and bounds. We're growing a lot of so bottom line is it's very popular, and so you're competing, in other words, with a lot of folks out there that are interested in going, and so it's best to promote and book early. In a sense, frankly, it's always a good idea to book early because you get the best choice of accommodations. Plus, river ships were the size of our ships are determined by the size of the locks that you're going to be going through on the river. So the reason river ships all kind of look the same aesthetically is because we pretty much have to be the same size. The difference comes in terms of the number of folks we put on, the different guest amenities, that kind of thing. But nonetheless, still at 156 guests, that's a small ship. So that's another reason we want to promote and book early. So this is a cruise on what we call Enchanting Rhine, and that is a north-bound cruise, Basel, Switzerland, on up to Amsterdam on a ship called the Amafiora, which is one of what are called twin balcony vessels, and it will be a brand new ship when she comes next spring, a year from now, right? So that's exciting to be. It'll have the new ship smell when you get when you get on, so that's a wonderful thing as well. And as you all know, this is going to be one of our limited number. We don't do a ton of these. I think 4 or 5 that we're doing next year, where we celebrate beer, right? The celebration of beer cruises. And this is a perfect itinerary to do that. This is definitely beer country, no doubt. And there will be a guest brewmaster on. You can see his picture there. He's Canadian, actually. And has a lineage and history of being a fantastic brewmaster from, I think he's in the Toronto area. He may be bringing some of his devotees along with them, so you can rub shoulders with some Canadians who like drinking his beer up in Canada. But he will be on board as the guest brewmaster doing tastings, things of that nature, and likely be able to join you as you get off the ship on various tastings that you'll be experiencing along the way. All right, so that in and of itself, we find our specialty cruises, if you will, including celebration of beer, really, it's like a cherry on top, if you will. It's further augmenting the overall experience by offering you this. And so these are relatively new. We started them last fall. I was telling Ryan that I'm working out here in California with a brewmaster who's going this summer on the Rhine in August. And so, again, this is something we're very excited to be introducing. If there's only one attribute of AmaWaterways that I could hang my hat on, I was the elevator pitch. I met Ryan in an elevator and he said, "What do you do?" "I work for AmaWaterways. Tell me about AmaWaterways," he asked me, and I got 15 seconds to do it. I would say we are a nice upscale deluxe river cruise line. And I think the best thing that we offer on our ships is this, the unparalleled service, right? That there's many things we offer. Of course, I'll talk about those. But if I can only name one thing, it's the staff and crew who work on board, who have this wonderful blend, if you will, of incredible professionalism, which you want that, of course, but at the same time, they're very warm and friendly as well. So they got that blend, that mix, that groove of having both. And they're the reason why people come back to us again and again and again. Every river cruise line has nice ships. We all have nice ships. But where the rubber meets the road, right? It's the software on board. They're the folks that cause us to have the repeat factor that we do. So that service is fantastic. It's also nice to have spacious accommodations. And I mentioned earlier this terminology of twin balcony, which is something that we're known for, and that is North Americans tend to like, especially if they've been on an ocean cruise and had a balcony experience on the ocean, they kind of like that. Obviously, we all who've had that experience would like to replicate that per se when you come on a river ship. And so we offer that. The predominant categories that we have on our vessels, on the twin balcony vessels, that have both a French balcony pictured to the left with a sliding glass rail there to just slide the door open and you can't walk out on it. But to your right, there is a traditional walkout balcony with a table and a couple of chairs. So, and then again, all the guest accoutrements in the staterooms you could imagine. What we're finding is this year we're augmenting the product. We're adding Nespresso coffee machines this year. We're upgrading our thread counts on the linens. I got a text from an advisor who is over in Europe right now, and she wrote the new bathrobes OMG. So I guess the bathrobes have been upgraded as well,
Yeah, that's
based
what
on
I've
that
heard
text
too.
I received. So we're doing a lot of cool things from a product standpoint because, quite frankly, as I said earlier, with the growth of river cruising, we have to hone our ball game. We really have to stay on top of things. So we're doing some really nice things for you all product wise. I happen to live here in wine country in Sonoma County, and so our palates are kind of spoiled, to be very candid. And the thing is our cuisine is award winning, absolutely fantastic, freshly sourced. Even in November, we'll get things from the Canary Islands, the Azores, etc. Bottom line is the food is off the hook. Any dietary restrictions you may have, these days there's innumerable ones, but you just let Ryan know, and then the ship knows in advance. If that doesn't happen and you forget to do it, the chef on board is always happy to meet with you because, again, these ships are small to the point they're like small restaurants, if you will, so we can accommodate any dietary needs. And again, the food is absolutely fantastic on board. You'll thoroughly enjoy that. There's also a chef's table. This is an alternative dining opportunity for dinner, and I dare say you as a group together will be able to dine in the chef's table together as a group on one of the evenings. It seats about 28 guests. So it's a tasting menu paired with the local wines, right? Something new for this year that you'll enjoy next year as well is now during the day, we are all doing Italian lunches in the chef's table. And again, that's new. So dinner we've done always. And again, you'll get to enjoy that very much and no additional charge. And the tasting menu, again, is fabulous. So the way that
I
drinks
just want
work
to,
on
I just want to,
board, yeah, go
I have a
ahead.
terrific, Brian,
Yeah,
I have a terrific story about the chef's table that maybe I'll
yeah.
tell at the end, but I
Okay,
just want to kind of seed that out there. But I also wanted to mention, because we're going kind of fast through everything, if you have questions, feel free to drop those in the comments. We will do Q&A at the end, but if you have questions along the way, feel free to drop them in there and we'll get
absolutely.
to them.
Good
Go ahead,
deal.
Brian.
Yeah, well, that's all right. So, sip and sail. So, we do a cocktail party every evening before dinner. However, we do mimosas in the morning and we do beer and wine at lunch. And then, yes, the sip and sail cocktail party in the evening. And then at dinner, and this is something augmented starting this year, over a 7 night cruise, there are 32 different wines we'll pour at dinner. So, there's two reds, two whites, and rosés available each night, right? So that again is a change this year as we up our game, as I mentioned earlier. A lot of times, what happens is our guests will find one particular wine that they enjoyed on one evening, and that becomes their go-to for the rest of the cruise. They really enjoy it. Not that they're going to sample all 32 wines on a 7 night cruise. Some people do that, I suppose, but a lot of people will find a particular wine that they like and stick with that. And so that's the way, again, the way alcohol works. We're not 24/7 round the clock alcohol, just FYI. So if you go to the bar at 10 o'clock at night and you want a cocktail, that'll be anywhere from €5 to €6, €7. But again, it's not about gouging on price or anything like that. Plus, if you're at one of the beer tastings off the ship and they're selling beer and you want to bring a 4 pack or a 6 pack back to the vessel, there's no corkage fees or anything like that. So you're welcome to do that as well. So that's sort of the way. And then soft drinks throughout the day included. You're not having to pay for those. And as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have an espresso coffee machine in your stateroom as well. Another feature on board are our cruise managers. This gentleman is named Uwe, one of our German cruise managers. He's about 6'4", but they have an outsized impact on the cruise because, again, the ships are small, and so I like to refer to them as sort of like the circus masters. They kind of run the show along with the hotel manager, and they do, again, an excellent job. Every evening in the lounge, you're going to meet, and the cruise manager is going to talk about what's upcoming on the cruise and what different excursions there are to pick and choose from. You may have pre-reserved some in advance, that's fine, but you may go to the cruise manager talk and discover, gee, I think I'd rather do that, and then you can switch to that particular excursion, which, by the way, all of the excursions, mentioning excursions, all of those are included in the price. That's a very strong value proposition that all of the things that you're going to be doing off the vessel, excursion wise, and experiencing what there is to see off the vessel, those are all included in the price. And we do a variety of them throughout the day, and they're broken up into pace levels as well. So that's nice. I mentioned that cultural enrichment. And a part of that factors in as it relates to the entertainment on board, so that when you're in the Alsace region, cruising along the Rhine, some of the entertainment, not every night, but some of the entertainment will be indicative and tied to the local area, quaint and colloquial and very charming, if you will. And that's part of that cultural enrichment that people so thoroughly enjoy. So that's part of how the entertainment works. If you're into trying to keep your wellness activities going on this cruise, we're happy to oblige you because there are full-time certified wellness instructors on board just there for wellness. So this gentleman in the red shirt who's conducting the looks like a stretching class maybe there. He's not going to also be your waiter later in the evening. He's just there just for wellness, and they have a whole wide variety of courses that you're able to take, certainly of your own volition, but people really enjoy the opportunity if you're so inclined to take advantage of that. And plus, with all the beer you're going to be drinking, it might become mandatory that you have to go at least to a couple of classes on the cruise. All right, let's get into the itinerary, which is, again, a classic itinerary. I say classic in the sense that if you've never been on a river cruise, and since this is Ryan's first river cruise, doing the Rhine is certainly, that is absolutely de facto the most popular river, along with the Danube, to do as a first-time river cruise experience. And even if you've done it before, it's worth doing because there's so much to see and to do, right? So this itinerary is incorporated. It's called Enchanting Rhine, and you're starting down in Basel, Switzerland, and then heading north all the way up to Amsterdam. And you see the various places that you're calling on along the way. Famous places like the Black Forest, you have an opportunity to visit. Strasbourg, which is the capital of the Alsace, and I'll talk about why it's called the Alsace and not France. It's just the Alsace region, right? And then up through the Rhine Gorge, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Area with all the castles, and that's certainly appealing indeed. Heidelberg, beautiful, beautiful city that you have an opportunity to visit. It sits on the Neckar River, actually. It sits on another river, not the river we're cruising on, but and then up through Rudesheim, Landstein, Cologne, which is fabulous, absolutely amazing place, through Dusseldorf, and then finishing up in world-class Amsterdam, right? Also another place famous for many things, including beer, no doubt about that. But this whole region is absolutely culinary and Epicurean delight and beer related as well. So let's dive in. Basel is where you will embark the vessel. It's definitely a cultural hub of Switzerland. It really sits at the intersection of Switzerland, France, and Germany. It's right at that border area. Matter of fact, when you walk out of the airport, I've flown into Basel. You make a right turn, you're in France, and a left turn, you're in Germany. And I mean, it's pretty, even though you're in Switzerland, you're literally right at the border. So it has a very unique Rhine lifestyle, indeed, and an absolutely wonderful place to start the cruise. It's actually our operational headquarters for AmaWaterways is right here in Basel. So a great place to start. And then continuing on, this is the gateway, Breisach in Germany, to the Black Forest and to the Alsace. And the reason they say the Alsace was along the river, the Rhine divided, and still to this day divides France and Germany. But over the centuries, this part of France used to be Germany, that part of Germany used to be France. So they just started referring to themselves not as French or Germans, but they call themselves Alsatians. And so that's a specific area of Europe that's incorporative of the Rhine and both sides of the Rhine, France and Germany. So you'll hear that term about Alsace quite a bit. And obviously, you have an opportunity to enjoy many different things about this Alsace region. In this particular area, we offer a Black Forest hike. So there's always active excursions that are offered. Again, totally volitional, certainly up to you. We also visit a very much preserved medieval Alsatian town, an opportunity to go to Colmar, Colmar, Colmar. That's an opportunity, as I mentioned earlier. This is also, we're going to move off of beer for a second. This is a renowned wine area, Kaiserstuhl, which again, you can do some wine tasting if you're so inclined. And there's some vineyard biking as well that's offered. So that's kind of cool with Breisach. And let me move on here.
The question of, do you fly into Basel or do you fly into Zurich for the
It
start?
it depends on if you're going to do, because we offer, I'll just mention this, there is an opportunity to do a pre-cruise stay in Switzerland, but you typically would fly into, I've flown into Zurich, I've flown into Munich, and then connected down to Basel, right? You're not going to find direct flights from the United States to Basel, so you're going to have to always connect. I've flown into Zurich and taken the train before. Not that you're going to do that, but Zurich on Swiss and then Swiss over to Basel. That's certainly doable. The last time I did it, I was on Lufthansa through Munich and Munich to Basel. But there's certainly plenty of ways to get there. But I mentioned earlier, there is, yes, we offer a pre-cruise opportunity. We always offer land pre and typically post-cruise that people take advantage. And just to mention on this itinerary, there is a 4-night pre-cruise option of 2 nights Zurich and 2 nights in Lucerne. And then after your Lucerne stay, you would then transfer to Basel. That's our land program that is on this particular cruise that I'll mention. Strasbourg is one of my favorite places in all of Europe. It's very much an EU headquarter kind of place, so lots of governmental activities here. But it is a true blend of French and German culture, again, due to its border location. Very much a charming, old town that you see here with the half-timbered houses and the small canals, which are called Les Petites Canals in French. And this city is known as the gem of the Alsace, right? Offering, again, walking tours and cycling tours. Ladies, if you're into silk scarves, this is a great place looking for silk scarves to do that here. And again, Epicurean wise, wonderful. If you decide to dine off the ship, the food here is also quite fantastic as well. So I'll mention that. Let's move on. Rudesheim. We're coming to Rudesheim. And Rudesheim offers opportunities to do, yes, you can see the gondola tour over the vineyard, right? That's a highlight for many folks. And again, this area is wine growing region as well. I know we're talking about beer, but particularly known for Riesling wines along this particular area. I'm not a big fan of Rieslings, but for some reason, the Rieslings that are here, I'm very much a fan of, quite tasty indeed. And then also Rudeshiner coffee. There's a very special drink that's a blend of rum and coffee and really terrific that you have to experience when you're there, no doubt. And then through the Rhine Gorge, which is evocative just from this picture alone. You see the topography of the vineyards along the side of the mountain there, but there's over 40 different castles along the Rhine here, and there will be narration because you do some daytime cruising through the Rhine Gorge, because as that is again a highlight of a Rhine River cruise is the cruise through the UNESCO World Heritage Area through the Rhine River Gorge. An absolutely fantastic thing to experience along the way. And as I say, there will be narration. You can either stay in your stateroom or be in the lounge or be up on top of the ship, depending on what the weather is like, to learn all of what it is that you are seeing. And again, over 40 different castles along the way. And this is Lorelei Rock that you're seeing here. And then with all the castles, you're thinking, are we going to get to visit a castle? And the answer to that is yes. We visit Lahnec Castle here, and along this particular itinerary, there's going to be a beer tasting, a Lahnsteiner beer tasting here So, as I mentioned, there are beer tasting opportunities not only on the ship with the brewmaster coming from Canada, but there'll be beer tasting opportunities off the vessel as well. But it's just AmaWaterways guests that do visit Lawneck Castle. A very intimate look at castle life with the family that's owned it within centuries and centuries. So, very interesting to take advantage of that opportunity as well, which everyone, again, gets to do. Time in Dusseldorf, known for the Altbier culture, and there will be beer tasting here, not only in Dusseldorf, but we're going to show a picture of Cologne as well. And Cologne is where you're able to leave from Dusseldorf and head down to Cologne. And Cologne is the home of this Gothic cathedral, over 1,000 years old. Interesting from World War II history, I always remember to mention this. This Cologne was a target, but the Allied pilots, both British and American, tried to avoid any situation where the church would be damaged. And you think it's out of the goodness of their heart? No, it was out of the fact that the spires were navigational aids for the pilots. And so interesting indeed. So very little damage, which is great for us because it's preserved from its medieval times and it is an absolute must visit. Another interesting fact is that the relics of the three wise men, Gaspar, Melchior, and who can think of the third wise man? I have to think of Melchior, Gaspar, and I forgot who the third wise man is. I'm so sorry, but their relics are here. I'll think of it at the end. But you have to visit the Cologne Cathedral, and then whether it's before or after, there will be a beer tasting and Kolsch beer. If you've not had a Kolsch beer before, hopefully you have, but if you've not had Kolsch beer, Kolsch is the name of Cologne in German. But to my way of thinking, Kolsch beer is the best beer in Germany, and that's the way they think too. So they're very biased as well. But you will be visiting a Kolsch beer tasting opportunity, and you remember when Brian said Kolsch was his favorite German beer, and hopefully you agree with me. But Cologne is an absolutely fabulous stop, really very much in. But people enjoy, no question. And then you're going to overnight in Amsterdam. So the ship will pull in and have the opportunity. This is where your cruise will end, is in Amsterdam, of course, known as a world-class city and its iconic canal system, over 160 different canals, best explored, obviously, by boat, rich heritage with Rembrandt and Van Gogh and the museums, incredible, world-class museums without question. Bike friendly, although you have to be an inveterate biker to ride along with the Amsterdammers. They are serious bikers there, and so if you have the guts to jump in and ride with them, that I give you kudos, no doubt about
Ruthless.
that. But very bike friendly culture indeed. And also, of course, from a beer tasting standpoint, you've got Heineken that's located here, certainly. And Heineken, as I mentioned earlier, I'm biased to Lagunitas. Lagunitas is here in Petaluma, where I live. And it turns out that Heineken purchased them a few years ago, and there is a Lagunitas tasting room in Amsterdam. So I recommend the Lagunitas. So you'll overnight here on the vessel and then have an opportunity to stay afterwards in Amsterdam as well. And I'm going to let Ryan talk about that at some point here, along with the pricing. So that is the overall itinerary. Again, a classic experience if you've not been on a river cruise doing this Rhine Gorge cruise through the Alsace, incorporative of so many wonderful places to take advantage of. All the excursions included, so much to see and so much to do that this will be an incredible intro to river cruising if it's your first river cruise. And if you've done others, again, with that beer theme, so much more added to it indeed. I already mentioned, yes, there is this opportunity in Switzerland for a 4-night pre-cruise, 2 nights Zurich, 2 nights in Lucerne, both fabulous places to visit. If you've not been there, that's on the agenda for you. And then, as I said, you can do the post-cruise opportunity in Amsterdam if you are so inclined. And so that's there's another nice picture of the Rhine Gorge, my presentation. And now I'm going to hand it back to Ryan, and then we'll go from there and see what kind of questions we have. And he can tell you more about added pricing and other things.
Yeah, Brian, one of the questions
Yeah.
that's in the chat is about the amount of time in port. And I did a quick look. I couldn't quite find the exactness, but maybe you can
Yeah,
speak to
we have a thing called the nautical schedule that actually gives exact times in port, which I can send you or Lon can send you. But typically, you pull in the morning, relatively early in the morning, right? Uh, and you know what I'll do is I'll stop. Oh, okay, you took over the share. Good. Okay, thank you.
that.
Um,
Yeah, no worries.
so you typically pull in relatively early in the morning, so 6, 7, 8 in the morning, and then you're typically getting ready to depart the ship on excursions. Generally speaking, around starting around 9 a.m. Right, and then you don't typically leave until early evening. Right, sometimes overnighting, like you'll start overnighting at the beginning and overnighting at the end. But that's a typical day, is pulling in relatively early in the morning and then leaving in and around dinner time,
Yeah. So pretty much the whole day.
pretty much the whole day. And
Yeah.
so it's like, a taste of each place, right? I mean, as you go along the river, indeed. And that's part of the reason why folks typically also augment the river experience with land, either pre and or post, right? To tack on additional time in Europe before and or after the cruise. Again, we offer programs that you can take advantage of, or you can certainly do your own thing.
Well, I will talk about the price. I know everybody's that's watching has seen the price here for a few seconds as it's been up on the screen, but um, I mentioned earlier about the pricing and how booking early is a great discount. These prices are they're $1,500 off per person right now, um, for the next month or so, which is why when I say like booking now versus booking even 3 months from now, you could save $3,000 on this thing. So there's the window. When I say window, if you haven't been on a river cruise before, you do have the opportunity. You can like kind of sleep at the water line. So the window is, if you stand up, like the window is right at eye level and you could see the ducks swim by. That's what a window experience is. And there's one of those available on the ship at this point. French balcony, we talked about, that's the kind where you have the sliding door. Some of the rooms only have French balconies, and you can see the prices for those. There's two at that lower level price, and then there's a lot at that 47.78 per person price. And then the twin balconies, like what Brian showed on the screen, those have both the balcony you stand at and the ones that you walk out. Um, I did this contract. I picked my spot when I did this contract, and at the time that I wrote it with Ama, I was able to get gratuity included, and then also a $50 onboard credit. And again, that is like if you book in the next month to 6 weeks. Um,
Let me jump in, Ryan, and just to let folks know, prepaid gratuity, what that would mean is just in general, gratuities are not something included in the fare. It's totally volitional, though the people work very, very hard, and most people do choose to do gratuities, which you can do before the cruise or during the cruise or whatnot. But in this case, with Ryan having negotiated the prepaid, what is the value of that? Next year, the recommended gratuity amount, what I'm hearing through the grapevine, it hasn't come down officially, but I'm sure it will. But the next year recommended amount for a 7-day cruise is $205 per person, 205. So that's a nice benefit that Ryan has been able to negotiate for you all.
so you can tip $400 basically without tipping $400.
Correct.
Um, The other thing is, and it's not included in these prices that are in the little gray window, is that when you sail with AmaWaterways and you're on ship, you have an opportunity to um, purchase what's called a future cruise credit. And on my last sailing, I purchased a lot of them because I knew we'd be doing this. And I am able to transfer that future cruise credit to all of you. So that gets an additional 5% off the cruise fare portion. So I've kind of represented it down there. That's roughly $150 to $270, depending on which room category you choose per person. So it's an additional savings off of that. So that's the pricing situation. I think I've hidden the chat, so let me pull that up so I can see it in case anybody has questions. Um, are we stopping? Can you see that? How do you say that? Ludwigshaven?
Ludwigshafen. So yes, you are stopping in Ludwigshafen, and out of Ludwigshafen, that day that the ship is in Ludwigshafen on the Rhine, you have an opportunity to go either east or west. If you go east, you're going to go to the town of Heidelberg, and Heidelberg I've mentioned, I pointed out on the map. And Heidelberg is a fascinating place. It's got world-class universities, beautiful town that sits on another river called the Neckar River. And so you have an opportunity to go up to visit the Heidelberg Castle, which is one of, to my way of thinking, one of the most beautiful castle and castle settings in all of Europe. So up to the top of the Heidelberg Castle, you can either kind of hike up or you can motor coach up and again get the fabulous tour of the castle plus the view back down to Heidelberg itself. We also kind of cool, we give you a fair amount of free time to wander around Heidelberg, which is well worth doing. And again, some of the beer opportunities there in terms of tasting different beers along with the bratwurst. I can just start to salivate now just thinking about it, but that's a fun thing to do in Heidelberg for sure. Now, if you maybe have been to Heidelberg or some of the excursions that are available in Speyer. Speyer is where you're going to go west off the ship, right? And that is a tour that incorporates, it's called Secrets of Speyer. And that is also very interesting indeed from the museums you'll visit, some of the churches you'll visit. There's a very interesting historic Jewish section of Speyer as well. So depending on, and this is the thing about river cruising, sometimes when you're in a given port, you have to pick and choose. You're going this way or you're going that way. But it's up to you, right? Whatever sort of suits your fancy more. So yes, we are visiting or have the opportunity to go to Heidelberg from Ludwigshafen or Speyer.
The next question that's on there is, does the price include all meals and drinks? And I would say, as far as meals go, oh boy, does it. And I mean, it's really good food. I'm going to stop short of saying like fine dining. Like it is fine dining, but you don't have to, it's not like French dining where you feel like you have to wear a tuxedo to dinner. But the food quality is amazing. Um, Drinks. So the drinks, Brian mentioned mimosas in the morning. You have beer and wine with lunch and dinner, and you have a cocktail hour before dinner, and then you have dinner where you're going to have more beer and wine. In addition, on this cruise, you're going to have some beer tastings and things like that that
Right.
are also included.
Yeah.
Outside of those hours, if you want to have a drink, you would pay like per drink. But I can tell you, I've been on these ships. I know that if you go into a bar now in the U.S. and you go to IPA, you could pay $12 for it. On the ship here, the prices are very reasonable.
They
I would say
are.
most stuff is under $10, I
For
think.
sure. We don't use the ship as a resource for revenue, frankly. I mean,
Right.
we're not trying to generate revenue on board. The only thing is really you can spend money on board, again, outside the gratuities, and maybe buying a drink at the bar. But you can go get a massage or you can purchase something in the gift shop. That's it, really.
Yep. Yep. Diane asked if it's all double rooms. So these prices that are on the screen are based on double occupancy. I will say that if the question is more so solo rates, I have those too, and I can send those to you. If the question's about a third person in the room, it's really not suitable to that unless you have a very young child that you're bringing and entertaining, by the way, because it's not really programming for young children.
True. That's true.
Those prices include the taxes and fees
Right.
that so that's inclusive. I know
Indeed.
you're trying to find like a way that these prices might be artificial or something. But yeah, the prices are good and they are inclusive of taxes, fees, and that kind of thing.
The other thing, Diane, last summer when I was over in Europe on the Danube, I saw the captain, and knock wood, this is still the policy. But anyway, I saw the captain escorting a group of people around the ship the first day of the cruise. We hadn't departed yet. So later in the evening, I went up to him and was just chit-chatting with him. And so, oh, by the way, who was that group of folks you were taking a tour with on the vessel? And he said, those were all of our solo travelers. And I thought, and I said, oh, did you do that? Just being magnanimous and a nice thing to do just for them to. He said, no, that's a new company policy that the captain takes the solo travelers around. It's kind of cool from that side. You're already going to be a part of a group, so it's not as if you potentially would, want to meet other solo travelers. But it's a nice thing that we do, and we do welcome a number of solo travelers that come with us.
There was a question about the flights and airfare and stuff. So the pricing doesn't include airfare
Correct.
over to Europe. So we are responsible for getting that in addition to this. I am, of course, always happy to help people through that process if they need help shopping or whatever for that, can do that. AmaWaterways has an air program, so they will also work with you to book
Correct.
airfare. So you're
What
more
I
than welcome.
what I always recommend out here is from my neck of the woods is, yeah, always get a quote from us. It's no harm, no foul to get a quote from us to see what we can come up with, which we have both what are called contract rates with airlines, and then we also have certain ways we look around for extant, what's happening currently in the marketplace to see what rates we can come up with. And then you can certainly also, use your own auspices or Ryan or, a lot of you have
Brilliant,
miles
whatever.
potentially you want to
Yeah,
cash in on, that kind of thing, which a number of people do that as well. But always at least get a quote from us to see where things stand.
yeah. Um, there is a question about visas for the trip. As far as I know, these countries you can passport is all you need.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say I finally got global entry, and it depends how much international travel you do, but man, I think it's $170. But if you do a fair amount of international travel, I cannot recommend global entry highly enough. If you don't
It's
have
kind
it,
of amazing. You just
yeah,
walk
it
by
it,
that
it it
line.
is amazing is the is the word. Telling you, it's facial recognition, but basically it makes things so expedient. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I have global entry. I love global entry. What I found recently is I get through the customs line so fast that I have to wait for my bag.
Yeah.
Whereas before, customs would take so long, your bags would surely be there by the time you got through. Now
Yeah.
that if you have global entry, that's not the case. Um, Okay, Keith asked about the pre-cruise as far as the prices and stuff like that. I don't have them prepared here for this, but I can get them to you. I will,
It, yeah, let me, yeah, Ryan, you can get those. I just want to interject on the pre-cruise, the cruise manager, who's going to be with you on the cruise will be with you on the pre-cruise. So that's one of the nice things we do. It's then like having your own private concierge at the hotel because it's the AmaWaterways cruise manager who's only at the hotel just for the AmaWaterways guests. So that's nice. It's nice to have that person there, and then you develop a rapport with the cruise manager ahead of getting on the vessel, right? So that's kind of cool. And then that same cruise manager will be on the Amsterdam post cruise as well. So you can do the Swiss pre, do the cruise, and the Amsterdam post, and again, it's breakfast included each morning. There are a handful of tours included as well on our land programs, just to be clear on that. And then we use 4 and 5 star properties.
yeah, I want to, the cruise manager, I know you talked about it. I want to kind of share my experience with the cruise manager because you set it up nicely. Basically, every night you're going to have a little time in the lounge where the cruise manager is kind of going to address the passengers, and he's going to say, here's what the weather is tomorrow, and here's what's going on, and here are the different options of excursions, which you can always switch out. Like he said, there's no cost to them. So if
Right,
you pre-sign up for biking, because that's something you can do. The ships have bikes that you can take, and
right.
sometimes you can do like a 15-mile bike ride, or sometimes you can bike to the next port,
That's right.
things like that. I signed up for one of those when I did the Danube, and the cruise manager, he comes in and he's politely giving his speech or whatever, and he says, "There are 11 of you that signed up for the biking tomorrow," and he said, "That is great. I just want to let you know that it's going to be raining. There's going to be wind into your face. And but you're welcome to do the bike tour. That's fine. Absolutely. You can do that. But those are the conditions you're going to be dealing with. Well, then every single one of those people race to switch that excursion out.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that and it was easy to do. So there was
right.
no stress with that.
Yeah, it is pretty easy to do. And the other thing they'll typically ask you is, when's the last time you were on a bike? And you don't want to say on my Schwinn in the third grade.
Yeah.
That's not the answer they
Yeah.
want they want to hear. But we do offer the bikes indeed. And if
The
somebody was asked about the weather, I'm always adverse. I'll just be candid to talk about weather because it's so changeable. But having said that, pretty much the groups I host as a sales guy and bring accounts from my neck of the woods out here in Northern California is pretty much every early November, just in and around this same time frame that you're going. And I'm going with my wife again this November. And what I found the weather to be, it's on the cool or chilly side, but it's not winter yet, right? So you just dress in layers, but I actually find that I like the fall the best. And the reason I like the fall the best is it's also less crowded, right? Just less folks, which is that's just my own personal predilection that I like it when it's less crowded, and the weather has never been really an issue, right? So, having said that, though, your own weather situation but typically cool to sometimes a little chilly at night in November. Yeah, but never seen snow when I've gone. I'll put it that way.
Brian, you're talking to a very hardened crowd when it comes to weather.
That's
I know
right.
that I know he asked the question, but in comparison to Potsdam, it's going to be summer. Where
I
we went
forgot. Yes, upstate New
to
York.
college,
That's right. I had a
it
friend
was
that lived
always
in
always snowing.
Burlington, Vermont. We used to take the
Yeah.
the ferry across the Ausable Cabin and Chasm in Plattsburgh, New York. But I remember
Yes.
visiting in winter, and that is definitely winter country there. Yeah.
Yes. Um, there is a question about the payment. Okay, so here's a favor for you. The other benefit of this future cruise thing that I have, by the way, normally deposit is $400 per person. Since I have these future cruise things, it's actually only $200 per person, and that'll be due, when you do the booking. Full payment is not due until 90 days prior. Is that right,
90
Brian?
days, 3 months
Yeah.
prior. Yeah.
There's the big line that advertises all the time that we didn't mention before, that you saw through Downton Abbey commercials. They take full payment a full year in advance. That's not the case here. Here you have up until 90 days
Right.
prior.
So I always typically say when I do presentations in person, and there are folks that have been on that line, if you like where your money is parked and earning interest, you can do that for an extra 9 months with us. So yeah, we
Yeah.
don't ask for your money a year plus out.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There's no more questions at the second. I'll tell my oh,
Can I ask a question?
oh, of course.
Just real quick, instead of typing it, your screen up that says window the 3200. Why does it only say one available and then the French balcony says two available? Does that mean that's all that's left that other people have already booked?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Okay.
In those categories. Yep. Um, there are, as you can see, there's a whole bunch at those other categories, so I didn't put the amount next to them, but
Yeah.
those lower cost ones, they're selling out. Um,
Are any of these adjoining rooms like the French balcony?
I mean, we do this ship being, as I say, brand new and coming next spring. So we do have accommodations that are adjoining, certainly. And so when the deck plans are ready, there are accommodations that are adjoining. I'm not sure, frankly, if any of them are French balcony adjoining. I'll look at a deck plan of a relatively recent ship to see if that's the case. But so in addition to triples and to quads, yes, there are adjoining.
there's a question about how many rooms that we have. I will say, small ship, we're not able to actually put rooms on hold. So we have as many as we book.
Yeah, and that to Ryan's point, that's another reason. And we are a group focused company. To be very candid, it's about 30 to 40% of our revenue is our groups, and a group is considered 10 or more people traveling together under a group program like what you all are doing. And so it just then becomes sort of a first come, first serve, to be candid. So again, another good reason to promote early is the early, the saying, who's ever earliest is going to have the best choice of accommodations because other groups are booking into it. Albeit I don't know how many groups. We typically limit the number of groups on a departure to 3 or 4, right? So then the brewmaster, I'll mention this, the brewmaster from Canada, his devotees, he's promoting to his followers, right, to come along with him. So he'll have a group as well, right? So there'll be fellow beer lovers that are going to be coming along with the brewmaster. So another reason to book early.
Yep.
So after decisions are made, who we go through you, Ryan, to book and pay a deposit?
Yep. And I didn't put my contact information on a slide to put up there, but all of you have my email. It's you can use. I have a couple different emails that I've probably been emailing you from, but Ryan Joy at Creating Magic Vacations or Ryan at ryanjoytravel.com. Either one of those is going to get you to me. My phone number is 315-212-9775. I'll repeat it in a second. So you can either text me or call me, but it's 315-212-9775. Based on that area code, if you didn't pick up on it, I did get my cell phone while I was studying at Clarkson. So that's why the area code is attached to Potsdam. Yep.
Are you going to send out this pricing slide and your contact information through our email to our emails?
Yep. Yeah, when I get the video posted tonight on YouTube, what I'll do is I'm going to send an email and it'll have the link to the video in case you all need to share it with other people. Um, and I'll also include the pricing that's you see here, and you'll have my contact information in there as well. Yeah, so all the things.
Should I put our email in the chat for you? My sister and brother-in-law are the Taylors. So
Oh, funny.
we got
Sure.
my husband's a 88 graduate. So you don't actually have our email contact.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead and do that, and I will I will copy it over and make sure you have it, or make sure you get the information tonight. I wanted to mention you were going through the slide. Brian was going through the slides talking about I got your email, about the chef's table. And when I was last on a ship, one of the funny things that happened was it's the chef's table is it's a nice restaurant. It's like a multi-course situation. So you're going to have several courses. And it's the kind of place where the servers come in and they put all the dishes down at the exact same time. And then they say, usually they say like bon appetit, go ahead and, eat whatever. So we had some dish and it was like a ravioli or something like that. And the servers come in, they put it down in front of us. I pick up my fork and knife and I am about to cut into this ravioli. And one of the servers catches me and she runs across the room and she's like, wait, stop. There's a sauce. So I had mistakenly tried to eat this ravioli without the sauce. And I would encounter that server over and over throughout the rest of the cruise. And she would always look at me and say, bon appetit, because that's your cue to eat.
That's funny.
But
That's
fun
funny.
little experience I
Yeah,
had.
that's good. I like that. There is dancing each night in the lounge area, so that's kind of fun. So the entertainment, there's always an onboard musician taking requests, right? So, but yeah, each night the folks are cutting a rug in the main lounge. And yeah, all the accoutrements you can imagine. The broadband and internet's really good, so handheld devices work well. And we actually have something called My Ama Cruise. It's an app, My Ama Cruise app. So you before you go, you'll download that app, and it's great for all kinds of things. I say it does everything but make popcorn, but it has all the info, everything at your fingertips, maps, uh, daily guide, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, it's a cool app, so that's something nice as well.
What's actually what I like about it is it keeps your history. So if
Correct.
you did like so I can pull up mine right now and I can go and I can look and I can see
Yeah,
um my Danube cruise that I did and it has like the whole itinerary and stuff.
yeah.
And you can
It,
even take pictures and upload them into there so that like you really have like a scrapbook sort of
it,
in
it,
your
it's just it has scrapbook capabilities, which is nice because how many times do you take a picture and think, "Oh, I'll remember it was this place," and then you get home, you think, "Where was it? What was the name of that place?" The app does it for you, so it's a from a photo standpoint, it's a very fantastic tool.
yeah. Yeah. So, any other questions out there? Let's see.
Power connection, yes. So
Oh,
there are 110 outlets on the ship, and this ship being brand new, there'll be quite a few, I'm sure. But always a good idea to bring the conversion kits along with you. Always for hotels and at the airport. Just always good to have a converter kit with you. But yeah, the ship will have plenty of 110s.
yeah.
Did I
And
hear you say
you
there are
did.
bicycles on the boat?
Yeah, 25
Yeah.
bikes. Yeah. They're not electric. We don't do electric. My both my boys have electric, and I always say to them, I'm ever going to see you pedal the bikes. That's what a bike is. You pedal the bike, but no, they're always got the throttle on. These bikes are going to, they're Dutch made. They're large circumference tires, easy to ride. You will wear a helmet. The cruise manager, I wasn't joking. They'll probably ask you what's your biking experience. So again, you don't want to say third grade on my Schwinn Stingray. Hopefully you have some experience. But yeah, you can pre-reserve the bikes. And they go out on guided tours, and you don't have to worry about how fast or slow you are because there's always a guide at the front and a guide at the rear, so you can go as slow as fast as you want. And then there are times you can take the bikes out on your own if you want to.
They have gears.
They have gears, 8 to 10 gears. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will tell you, Brian mentioned the Amsterdam thing. I was in Amsterdam just in March, and it's it's serious business, the biking there. Like if you
Yes. Yes.
if
Yeah.
you're walking around, you have to look both ways, not just for the road.
Yep. They are bikers, and that's an understatement.
Mhm. Well, all right. Well, if no further questions, we're hitting it right at 7 o'clock, which is pretty impressive. Brian has to go
Yeah,
to Little League.
I do. My younger son, third baseman, bats third, coach the team. So yeah, I got to run.
Well, thank you so much for your attention tonight, everybody. I will get the information out to you. It's been nice presenting this for you, and I hope to, as we say, see you there on the first ever Clarkson River Cruise. It's going to be a blast. I know it is, and I can't wait to. We can talk about beer blasts and we can talk about flip nights and all the things that used to happen at Clarkson surrounding beer on board. I'm sure it'll make for some great conversation.